Let's take a closer look at the constitutional powers of each branch and the violations of authority and jurisdiction. This is the real meat of our discussion today. Constitutional powers of the three branches. We only have enough time today to just touch on those areas that are most important or most abused. Let's start with Article 1, Section 1. One of my very favorite trivia questions is, what's the very first word in the Constitution, the main body? I've yet to have anybody tell me. Lawyers, elected officials, nobody can. It's such a simple question. It's a little three-letter word. And Madison said, all of our liberties and freedoms hang on every word of the Constitution. Look how important this one is. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. This means that the President, nor the regulators, nor the courts can legislate, but they all do. Another important part here that I've got highlighted is all legislative powers herein granted. If they don't have that power herein granted under enumerated power, folks, they don't have the power and authority. When anybody other than Congress is allowed to legislate, the checks and balances are broken down. This is when we, the people, must get involved, folks. When we learn these things, what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing, then we'll be better equipped to hold our officials accountable. Remember, we're the earthly sovereigns. We get our rights directly from God, folks, and we give the power to the government to do our bidding. But it's under the consent of the government. We can't forget this. Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1. The times, places, and manners of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof, but the Congress may at any time make law or alter such regulations of law except as to the place of choosing senators. Well, the senators were originally chosen by the states, so they couldn't change that. The state legislatures did that, which I think we should go back to, quite frankly, because once we had popular elections of the senators, the states lost their power over the federal government. That was another check and balance between the states and the federal government that we've lost. Article 1, Section 7, Clause 1. All bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. Well, one of my favorite news commentators on Fox News claims that all spending bills have to start in the House. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's all bills for raising revenue. All taxing bills have to start in the House. That's because the House is the closest to the people. That can harm us more than anything to do is get into our pocketbook. So that's why it has to be the House that initiates these things. Very important principle to remember. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1. This is a section where most of the enumerated powers are found. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises. And I added an order there because I believe it makes it a little clearer. We'll come back to that in a moment. But they can collect these taxes to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. Let's go back and parse this, look at it a little bit closer. The Congress can lay taxes, collect taxes for what purpose? The purpose is to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare. Now, a lot of people think this clause, general welfare, here is a very broad authority. Nothing could be further from the truth. Let me tell you what the father of our Constitution, James Madison, said about that in Federalist 41. He said, the Anti-Federalists claimed that the power of the tax for the general welfare would give the federal government way too much power. He said he agreed with that. He said, but how can that be when following the clause general welfare are all the items that make up general welfare? Hamilton, who was a big government guy, said essentially the same thing in Federalist 83, where he said it would be foolish to have a broad authority under general welfare followed by a little short list of enumerated powers. It doesn't make a bit of sense at all. So the proper interpretation of this is the ability to provide the common defense and general welfare is the purpose for the enumerated powers that follow. And people back in those days understood that because these words come straight out of the Articles of Confederation, where they had no power. But the purpose of the Articles of Confederation was to help defend themselves and promote the general welfare. even though they had no authority. That's what the enumerated powers are to do. They're more specific and they have more power to actually promote our general welfare, like the preamble said. Promote, not provide for. We're starting to provide for it. Madison, the father of our Constitution, on the floor of Congress said he could find not one word in the Constitution that authorizes anything charitable. What's the largest part of our budget today? Probably charitable stuff. We're doing things, folks, that shouldn't be done by the federal government. We don't. That's when we talked about how to interpret the Constitution. We, the people, can do that for ourselves, can't we? We can do that for ourselves, our neighbors, our family, through our churches, through our states. We don't have to have the federal government for that, nor are they authorized.